Hello, good evening and welcome to the LFC Daytrippers. I'm Gav. I have Davo, Phil and Dicko with me. It's winners and losers. You know how this works. We are going to the lads are going to pick winners and losers for this week. Arsenal have shown up right on fucking cue. Fair play to them. And let's be honest, when you get a manager of the month award for playing 4 games and losing one of them, you deserve everything you get. So I can't for the life of me remember what the lads have picked, but I'm sure they'll tell me as we go. I'm going to start.
Neither can I.
Can you not? I know one that you picked. I know which one that you picked, and Dicko, I'll think about it and I'll remember it. It'd be grand. We're going to start with Davo. Let's start with your.
That's because I was the only one you could remember.
No. I know the other ones now. Davo, winner of the week, please.
My winner of the week is Liverpool FC's high defensive line.
Okay.
High defensive line. I didn't realise it until it was actually said, or it was a stat on after. It's 7 home goals, 7 goals, league goals conceded at Anfield all season, which is phenomenal. And listen, it's like we've heard Pep Linders before saying our intensity is our. Do you know what I mean? That's what we work on the most. I'm going to repeat myself now. The Burnley game when we played away there, whatever. Stream I was looking at it on, it got picked up. Linders roaring at them, pissing rain, typical Burnley day, or 1-0 up, and he's roaring at them to get up higher, play higher, get higher. Against the likes of Burnley, who are just going to fucking launch the thing in on top of you. So, yeah, look, I know the lads, hopefully the lads can come in something with a few comments on this, but yeah, our high defensive line, 7 league goals conceded at home all year, and it's phenomenal. It really is. Like the clean sheets are racking up, and we've been superb.
Listen, I think it's a great topic for winner of the week, because we were only talking on the Fat Back Forward about it last night, where Keith was going through a couple of the chances that Watford had, and he was arguing that look, you're probably better off a few of these going in the net. So they actually have to call it back and show you that it was offside.
Yeah.
It's very, very brave what they do, in my opinion. Extremely brave in what they do. And it doesn't really matter who they come up against. They seem to do it regardless. Phil, I'll come to you first. Like, it is extreme. Like, whether people like it or not, and they're trying to build a narrative around this high line when there's nothing really to be built around, it's still massively brave what they're doing, isn't it?
No.
Okay, cool.
And the reason why I'm saying no is that, I'm trying to think outside of Mourinho's Chelsea teams and Inter Milan teams, right? Very rarely does a pure counter-attacking, deep-line defensive side ever prove to be successful over a long period as a football team, because eventually they have to come out, and normally that exposes their defense. When I think of all the great teams that we've seen over the last 20 to 25 years, even going back to the United teams under Ferguson, and you think of the way they played, and they weren't necessarily the quickest defenders, but they played that style of football. Because to me, the high line is essential for any of the top sides, because it condenses the amount of space the ball has to work from back to front all the time, and creates those options that we see that our team works so well. The worst period of football we've played tends to be when we look our most stretched from top to back. So the high line is just an intrinsic part of what we do. I think we also have an incredibly good, like our centre backs with Van Dijk there are probably some of the few centre backs that are genuinely world class centre backs at this moment in time. Like, I think there's a dearth of really brilliant centre backs, and we've got 3 of them. And that's not even any hyperbole. That's like name better centre backs. Name generational levels of centre backs that currently exist at the moment. If you go back to the start of the noughties, you can probably name about 5 or 6 that are playing for a load of different teams. The guys we're talking about are still the same fellas that were playing 10 years ago. We've got the only one that's he's turning 30 this year.
Yeah.
So to me, it's not about the brave piece. That's how you have to play if you want to be a top side. And I think there's been so much made over this high line. It's just an easy narrative for the press to get behind, because let's face it, the English don't understand football. The English don't understand tactical sides of football, because they have Gareth Southgate, and they think that's great football in terms of what it is, and that's ultimately they're the guys in London in the press box who are championing this style of football that England want to play, which is all over the shop. So, and I'm not belittling Davo's point. I think the way we play defensively is intrinsic to us being able to play, and it's not so much the fearless. Like, again, I don't think fear comes into it. I don't think it's a fearless thing. They play a certain way that they train and they coach and they do it week in, week out. And one of our biggest criticisms we had under Rafa, and also one of the biggest criticisms we had under Rodgers, was that the defense, like with Rafa, we sat deep and tried to play a strange sort of pressured version of counter-attacking from our own half, which worked perfect when we gave the ball to Alonso and he could find Gerrard and then he could find Torres, and that so many times ended up a goal, or out to Cout, who cut back across. You think of Rodgers, the defence is all over the shop. Can't defend deep, can't defend high. This is just what happens when you get to being a top-level team. Think of the Real Madrid teams. They played high line. Even with Pepe and Sergio Ramos sitting in their back four, they played what is the high line defense. It wasn't. They were just playing. They're so far up the pitch. They have to be comfortable with a ball going in behind them all the time. PK, Mascherano at Barcelona, the same thing. Like, they're the peak teams we're talking about at the moment.
Yeah, no,
and that's.
I'm with you on that, and like, what I would say is like, I don't think so much will be made of it if the media weren't trying to make so much of it, if you get me. You know what I mean? Like, and I kind of get you. I get your point where you're going, look, people don't understand, because for me, some people just can't get their head around the fact that you defend that high with so many people looking to be advanced, especially when your fullbacks are that advanced, Phil. It's not like it's actually not a high line, it's a high fucking two. Do you know what I mean? Because the other two, usually when someone's playing a ball through, our fullbacks are probably ahead of our centre backs anyway. And it's possibly something where people just can't get their head around that they're doing this. If we played just a flat back four and left the fullbacks there, you go, yeah, they're playing high, but they've covered because there's four. Usually when you see a ball through against Liverpool, it's the fullbacks are nearly ahead of the centre back, so it's those two.
You just have brain dead pundits. Like, this is what
I'm saying. You genuinely can't get your head around it. Like, Dicko, like, you watch a lot of Liverpool. You know, season ticket holder, but we won't go into that because I know it's a very sore subject. But the thing is, Dicko, like, you've seen many Liverpool like teams at Anfield playing, and you go, they're way too high. They're not good enough to be there. They're way too high, or they're way too deep. Whereas this looks at the moment like it's a massive part of how we play. It's not just something that it's a fad and we just try it for the laugh. It's massive in what we do, isn't it?
It is, and the reality is, this is obviously all kind of really gathered pace since coming. All credit to Klopp and the coaching staff. They've obviously come up with a way to approach things, and as fans, we were all incredibly nervous at the start, but we've seen how this has evolved into how we play football, and it's here to stay as far as Liverpool are concerned for the future. Pundits seem some of the pundits get onto it, but as has been mentioned, there's a lot of lazy punditry, and sure that when it comes to a game, it might be a Man City game, it might be one of the more important games coming up this season. If we do this high line and someone getting in behind us and scoring and that being the decisive goal, you can be absolutely certain that pundits will jump on it and say, well, Liverpool have been waiting for this has been something that's been waiting all season they've sort of got away. But the reality is, it's helped us so much. And let's face it, when teams do get in behind us, and I agree with Keith on what he was saying last night, they weren't chances. You know, the flag should go up. They don't go up. It gives sound bites, you know, for these pundits to jump on. But the reality is, you know, when we do see teams get in behind us, they've still got to get past Alisson Becker, and that fella is saving sort of 90% of what comes at him. You know, like the fella is a man mountain at the moment. So, you know, we couple the fact that we're well drilled in this, we've got the safety net, and then you've also got Alisson Becker. You know, for what's given us, it's a risk well worth taking, and I'm very comfortable with it now at this point.
2 questions before we move on. Davo, first to you. Are you comfortable going into any game that we're playing that high line? Or is there any games you look and go, oh, Jesus, drop 10 yards?
No, Jesus.
And I'm asking that because Man City play us on next Sunday.
No, listen, you'd be... Like, what's the point in doing it all the time and training within the fucking inch of your life doing it and working and doing all the hard yards on the training pitch? Because it's just muscle memory now to the team. So if you were trying to say to them now, oh, listen, at City we might drop 10 yards here, listen, they'd be all over the shop. Half of the lads would forget to do it, blah blah blah. Now I'm very comfortable, and like someone said in the comments there, it probably would be suicidal if there was no VAR to be doing it because of how poor the officials are, because they're dog shit. So,
I don't even buy that, and I'll tell you why. Because teams have been playing this way, but these teams have been playing this way. Top teams have played this way ad infinitum, right? You get decisions, you don't get decisions, but like in the main, I'd say there's more non-offside decisions happening now than before VAR. Honestly. So many more of those, they would have put their flags up because they were sort of a bit marginal. And we used to give out stink that fellas who were slightly behind the line would never get the benefit of the doubt. You go back to the time when we lost the league, when Mane is clearly onside going through and going. You know what I mean? So, you know, there's a lot. Actually, mentioning VAR, because we never talk about it really well, but there was some fella doing the VAR this week for the Liverpool match, and he's fucking deadly. Right,
stop.
He gave that,
because I think
that penalty.
I think that might be a topic later on.
Is that a topic? Is it? Did you just text in that topic, Dicko?
No. I'd say someone did earlier, and you've just remembered to text in and decided, fuck it, I'm going to bring 3 conversations into one here.
No, I
ignored the comments. At 11.
No, I'd loads of things to be doing, like work. You know, that's that thing, right? So it's like I wasn't paying attention. I gave him my topic, and then made one up, and then said, right, I'm not paying attention to the rest of that.
Okay, well, let me ask you one more question before we move on, right? Because Dicko mentioned something there. The high line. It's in us. That's what we do, and we're all comfortable with it. And fuck anyone else that doesn't like it.
It's not in us. It's only recently in us. Martin fucking Skertle would have stopped you playing a high line to use it.
Yeah.
But anyway, I want to ask this before. Will you stop? I want to ask you a fucking question.
Lucas, sack of shit.
Dicko mentioned something there though. If you do manage to get past this, Alisson Becker is there. Phil, you love talking about a goalkeeper, and I think, you know, we've talked about Alisson loads of times, but he just gets better and better for me, and he just gets more assured, and he just gets nearly unbeatable. It's getting ridiculous. Like, where do you rate him in all-time Liverpool goalkeepers?
Alisson.
Yeah. That shut you up, didn't it?
Honestly, it's hard not to say that he isn't the best we've ever had. And that's what I'm trying. Like, you feel like you're doing a disservice to Ray Clements and Bruce Grobbler and Elijah Scott, who came before him. But he's so good. He makes goalkeeping look easy. And what he does is not easy. That's the best way to describe it.
Yeah.
Because even there's the best way to describe Alisson, this is how good Alisson is, and I think it's the best way. If anyone's been online today, they will have seen an incredible save by Craig Gordon in the Hearts game at the weekend, right? Where he pulls one off, pulls it off down the bottom, the ball spins up, hits the post, looks like a man has an empty goal, and Gordon manages to get up and dive across and make another wonder save off it, right?
Haven't seen it. Sounds deadly.
It looks absolutely amazing, and they have a shot from behind it, which makes it look even better in terms of what it is, right?
Okay.
But
I might look it up here while you're telling me. Go on.
Okay, but Alisson holds on to the foreshaw.
Right.
The rest of that doesn't happen. That's what.
Yeah, but it's not only that, Phil. I do agree with you. It's not only that. I've mentioned it before with him. He takes shots without getting technical enough, because I know you play. He takes shots into his midriff where he's squared onto the ball that other goalkeepers will have dived sideways for. Meaning, and what I mean by that is he's after moving his feet that quick. He's across the goal and he's squared on taking the ball into his midriff. Whereas other fellas are having to take a half step and dive. That's how good he is. That's what sums up for me. He's making saves look incredibly easy that he basically doesn't have to dive for. And going on yesterday, like his one-on-one percentages must be incredible, because he's the best keeper I've ever seen at them. I know Schmeichel was great. He'd come out there with the starfish and whatnot, and then fellas started getting wide and rolling through his legs. Alisson's he makes it. He never does anything stupid. It was the same with the Arsenal game. Like Carragher said, like another goalkeeper do something stupid there and take him down. He makes the defender, or he makes the centre forward or the player coming in make the decision, and 9 times out of 10 he's saving it.
Okay.
Gav, just on this,
Jez, I asked one question. They're all they're having 18 comments each on it. Go on, Dicko.
It's just something that sprung to mind because I went and seen that Belgium-Ireland game recently and got a timely reminder of what it's like to see Mignolet in goal, and it's like night and day. I mean, imagine if we were still having to put up with either Mignolet or Karius levels. I honestly think we'd be probably about 7 or 8 points worse off. Like we would literally not be in this title run. I honestly believe that. I mean, that fella gives defenders in front of him no confidence whatsoever. And when he does, we used to go on about his shot stopper, but the amount of times he parries something back into the danger area as well, it's like, no, I mean, thank God we've got him, and obviously we've got a solid number 2 in Caoimhín Kelleher as well. So I think we're well sorted at that position for the next few years.
Go on,
can I just one thing, because everyone keeps saying about Clements or Guffey, you're saying about Clements in the chat, right? It's not comparable. And here's the best way to look at it. Clements wasn't regarded as the best in the world when he was with Liverpool then, right? Alisson is regarded as the best in the world, or one of the top 3 goalkeepers in the world. Clements wasn't even England's number 1 at that point in time.
Yeah, I think Shilton was kicked.
Yeah. Clements was an excellent goalkeeper, and he was
some of his saves were fucking outrageous.
He was rock steady and brilliant. But Gav, I'm going back to if when you watch Alisson play, if you wanted to put a tape up in front of a kid who's trying to learn how to play in goal, you say if you can achieve 70% of what he does, you're going to end up as a professional footballer, because he's just different. I've said this ages and ages ago.
Caoimhín Kelleher is his prototype now. I've no doubt about that.
Yeah, but he's one of these generational goalkeepers who changes the way goalkeeping is done for a while, and that's just that he's taken on the style, the sweeper keeper style, but reverted it back to this rock solid, calm type of goalkeeper behind it, right? So if you take what Neuer used to do at Bayern Munich, Alisson is capable of doing all that dribbling outside the box, but he plays so high behind the defence. When he gets it, he's not looking to dribble or whatever, but he's already picking out 2, 3, 4 different angles and passes to give a ball when it's coming back to him. And the team is able to play so high because they're so confident that if the ball comes over the top, he's there to pick it up. So the teams can't even play the ball in the direction of our goal when they're trying to go long. They have to go into the channels to keep it away from that space, which is essentially a triangle between the 2 lads and Alisson, who's at the top end of his box. And then his saves. We're watching a guy make saves that are criminally underrated because he makes them look so easy. That's the only way I can describe how good he is as a goalkeeper. So going back to it, I think Clements was fantastic for Liverpool. I'm not doubting his ability and what he did. But for me, Alisson is just he's like a Schmeichel. He's one of those generational goalkeepers that you only get once every 20 years or so.
And the funny thing about me is, like, when you see players come over and from Brazil or South America, wherever, and you're thinking, oh, he could move on. Like Suarez or Coutinho, like they want to play for Barca or Real Madrid. I don't get that off him. I get off him where he's at Liverpool and he's fucking like, this is the best place in the world to play football, and I'll stay here forever, and I love that about him. Red Steve says, didn't someone work out Ali was worth 15 points a season or something? I've picked that number out of the air, but my point still stands. Charlie the Red, literally seconds later, says, Alisson is 15 goals better than the average Premier League goalkeeper, according to a goalkeeper stats model, highest in the Prem. So I don't know if they're both the same person, and he's changed the count really quickly, but I had to read out Red Steve's one if I was going to read out Charlie's one. Veranda Cheese has called Alisson a liability, but literally he gets very edgy at around 20 past 10 at night. So Edgy Guerrero is in the house.
Remember, he was my player of the year. My one to watch in the preseason, in the season preview.
Who?
Sean Lawson nearly fell off his chair laughing. We were picking out, these rare players to watch or somebody to watch coming in. Mine was Alisson. And he was like, you're picking Liverpool's goalkeepers to play to. I said, yeah, that's the keep an eye on him. He's going to make a big difference to us this season.
Okay, Jesus. Okay.
Bang on, I was.
Dicko is back. So Dicko, before the internet goes,
get Dicko's one there before he goes.
I know, yeah.
Get the temp into the meeting.
Dicko, loser of the week, please.
Loser of the week. Well, I guess I'll sort of group them up as the smaller clubs in the Premier League, and the reason why I say that is because of the rule change around the 5 subs, and obviously quite a few of the smaller clubs were resisting and moaning the last time this was introduced, and they're the big losers now because ultimately the rules going to be changed for next season. So the likes of Burnley. I know Norwich won't be around, so Dean Smith won't need to worry about it so much. But the lesser clubs who really didn't like this at all, and I actually looked it up a bit earlier on as well. They even seemed to make a point last time around of not using the 5 subs when they were available. During the COVID season. 9 opportunities to use 5 subs in a game, and the likes of Burnley didn't use all 5 subs once, as if to make a point. Seeing Burnley come out against it when he was interviewed. Again, Dean Smith didn't sound too enamoured with it. So yeah, it's the smaller clubs really. Obviously, they feel like it gives the likes of the big 6 an advantage with the bigger squads. They have the smaller squads. By the time they get to make their 4th or 5th sub, I guess I'll argue they've kind of seriously weakened the 11 players on the pitch by what they're actually bringing on at that stage. Whereas for a Liverpool or Man City, I mean, if you look at us, for example, we're going to be 4th, 5th sub. We're going to be bringing on maybe a Harvey Elliott, maybe a Bobby Firmino at that stage. So I think obviously it helps us, but for those smaller clubs, they seem to be the losers out of all of this.
I've spoken a lot on this, and I can't for any reason understand why anyone would be against it. And I can. One, I think it would expose managers to actually show exactly how they feel about some of their players and how much they trust them, because they shouldn't be looking at other teams. They should be looking and saying, I get 5 opportunities to change this game from me. What's the
and the surprising one for me when I looked at these substitutions, probably more managers than the teams. The one that stuck out really was a manager who you would have thought had a bit at disposal at the time, and that's Frank Lampard. Yeah. he only took that opportunity twice to make all 5 subs, so it does say a lot about managers. You have to think, don't you?
Yeah, and that's the thing. They're just so set in with 3 subs, and they just can't seem to get their head around it. And I think they're looking like all this stuff. Oh, it's more of a benefit. Listen, the big clubs benefit anyway because they're better than you with 3 subs, with 1 sub, whatever it is. 5 subs, yeah, they've more quality than you. But you're not telling me that clubs in the Premier League can't go out and go, right, we might need to use 5 subs. We have to up the quality of our squad here because we need 5 subs. I think it's a madness. Davo, 5 subs, yeah or nay?
To be quite honest with you, I'm not too fucking pushed, to be honest with you. But I'm kind of with you, as in, it's not fucking the big sides get 5 subs and the top 6 gets 5 subs and everyone else gets 3. Mm-hmm. Burnley could be playing fucking Villa, or Brighton could be playing Villa bring on 3 subs, and then he looks around, there's still 0-0, throws the fourth fella on, you get the winner.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Which wouldn't have happened if he didn't have the 5.
Yeah.
So I can't get my head around with the wins and amount. And like you said, like fucking Burnley playing against City, they could have fucking 25 subs. They're not getting letting out of the game.
Mm-hmm.
So
I've seen a few games recently where teams have had made 3 early subs because of injuries, and they've had a 4th fella limping around. You know,
Leeds
what I
away
mean?
at Wolves. Do you remember they had to make 3 in the first?
Yeah.
So, listen, Phil, 5 subs. Like, what do you make of it? And I agree with Dicko. Anyone voting against this is the loser of the week for me.
I don't understand the concept.
Well, the concept is, Phil, that you can make 3 substitutions in a Premier League game at the moment. And from the start of next season, you can make 5. And clubs against it. I don't know why I'm explaining this here. I'm actually rising. And smaller clubs in the league.
Would the answer here not have been for the clubs who voted against it, they can only use 3 subs next year. The clubs who voted for it, they could use 5.
Yeah.
Because then the clubs who don't want it get what they don't want, and the clubs who do want it get what they want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and everyone will be happy then.
And then, because like the teams that voted against it, who are the teams that voted against it?
We don't know. I think about 6 months ago it was brought. You see, it was brought in during the pandemic, and then it was taken away. And Klopp was
you need a 2-thirds majority, don't you?
You need 14 of the 20. Yeah. And Klopp was like, "Why are you taking this away? There's more, regardless of pandemic or not. We're playing more and more football all the time. For for players looking after player welfare and stuff like that, should have 5 subs. It was battered down. I think there was probably 5 or 6 that supported Klopp, and the rest were saying no. But now it is gone through. So a few have changed their mind. But it seems that teams down near the bottom that wouldn't have the quality of squad of a Liverpool, City, Chelsea, United, or whatever, aren't happy over this. But I think they're looking at it the wrong way. They're looking at what others can do instead of...
It's a league of shit small clubs at this moment of time. The Premier League doesn't have the foremost names anymore in it, right? You have 6 teams, and then the rest are all levels of shite, okay? So it doesn't matter which 11 you're picking from or how many subs they use, they're all just levels of shite. And when you look at the names that are there, there's Leicester's, Southampton's, Brighton's, Brentford's, Watford's, Burnley's, Norwich's. Like, they're nothing sides, right? So it doesn't matter who they pick, who they play. It is what it is, right? If they're moaning that the teams at the top will be able to make more changes and win more matches, it's not going to bother them anyway. They're still going to be doing the exact same stuff that they were doing before. Like, their games, the important games are the ones they're playing against, whether it's in the Championship or whether it's in the Premier League, because that's the teams they're going to be playing against. Next year, it's probably Barnsley against Everton or something in the Championship. Then it's yeah, like seriously, this is what I'm saying. It makes no difference.
Well, look, like obviously a few more have got on board that weren't on board to get it through the last one, right?
Yeah,
but you're dealing with clubs like West Ham and Aston Villa, Porslow, and one Karen Brady. Like Jordan Project Restart, they wanted to come back with no relegation. Like, so they were looking after themselves. Like West Ham were a relegation threat that season, and they wanted Villa the same. They wanted to come back if there was no relegation. So it's fucking self-preservation throughout every fucking level of the league. All the time. They didn't give 2 fucks about who was top of the Championship or second in the Championship when they were going to the Premier League. Going, well, listen, we'll come back, but there's no fans. So what about no relegation and that? So I mean, they're all the fucking same. They're all the same.
Yeah, but you see, I completely get where you're coming from. But what I always notice every season is teams that are struggling. You'll hear managers going, "Oh, well, look, I just don't have the bodies. I haven't got the opportunity to change this team. We're playing this and we're playing," and there's all the excuses. So by putting 5 subs out there, you're actually taking a load of their excuses away from them by saying, "Well, you don't have to play that guy for 90 minutes and run him into the ground." Because you've made your 3 subs to affect the game, and you should use your 2 subs then to rest people if you possibly can. Like, if you put 3 subs on and you're 2-1 up, and it's a big game, and you score a goal and you're 3-1 up, and you're going, right, it's comfortable now, right? You've 2 more subs then to go, right, play him and him is definitely playing the weekend, they're crucial. Take them off for the last 20. Take them off for the last half an hour. And that's how it's a way of rotating your players and keeping them fresh and reducing the amount of injuries, because Kev said it last night. The science shows that leagues with 3 subs or The data of 3 subs against 5 shows there's way more muscle injuries in a place where there's 3 subs to what there is with 5. So it actually works out that you're going to have less injuries, you're going to have players playing less minutes, you're able to rotate, and you're able to affect games more. But some people don't want it because in their own head, listen, in their own head they think if we keep at 3 subs, we'll beat these teams. But Jesus, give them 5 and we've no chance. It's weird for me. Weird. Anyway, let's move on. Phil.
Yeah.
Winner, please.
My winners are Michael Maguire and Harry Kane, right? Because they're the standard. That is the standard, right? See that?
How are you making these the winners now?
Because listen to me. 3 years ago, when Jamie was telling me that Maguire and Kane were top level defenders and that they're going to do massive jobs when they go to United and everything. I didn't realise they were saboteurs and they were going in to wreck the shop, right? So like for me, I just think that they're the winners of the week. Last week, everyone was booing
£110 million combined, I think.
Yep. They were booing Michael Maguire last week in Wembley, and there was campaigns. There was a national campaign. Boris asked them all to stop booing him, and everyone was sending flowers, and they started a big, huge charity for him and a crowdfunder so that people would stop booing Maguire. So just to take the pressure off Maguire, Keane goes out and shows how truly shite he is at this weekend with Everton. And I just come back to it, like England have gone from producing top level centre backs that could compete with the rest of the world in terms of us to produce an absolute bilge that they sell between themselves for billions. And this is insane. They're fucking shite. They're terrible. Like, to be honest with you, Joe Gomez is the best English centre back by a long shot, right? And I'm with the lads. I'm having Harry Maguire and whatever his name is, Harry Kane and Michael Maguire. Like you could swap heads and you wouldn't know the difference in the players. That's why they're winners of the week. They're interchangeable, Gav. They're like transformers, and if you combine them all together, you turn them into one decent centre back. They've got one leg each.
Owen Burke reckons they are winners because they've got this far in their career somehow.
I'm telling you.
I don't know how you've managed to squeeze them in as winners. I will say that, but listen, I'll let you away. I was struggling
to pick winners this week, to be honest with you. Like, the whole thing was just outside of Diogo Jota should have been called out as a winner. Fella's like a throwback to Pippo Inzaghi, but can actually play football. Like, that's just he's a freak. But there was nothing. I wanted something that wasn't just
today. Actually, 20 goals this season. Yeah, 7 with his left foot, 7 with his right foot, and 6 with his head.
He's a freak. Like, do you know what I mean?
He is a bit mental.
He is, and then you have Mo, and you have Mo's going through. Do you know what? Right, Mo's having a wee bit of a little downturn at the moment. He's 570 minutes since he scored from open play, and that to me is now the impact of the African Nations Cup and the fact that he never ever gets a game off or takes a break or anything like that.
He's played like 1,000 minutes for Egypt this year, and Firmino's played 1,000 minutes the whole season.
Whereas the two lads look like.
Crazy.
Do you remember that Kanye West video where there were two rectangular people? He was wearing this mad rectangular costume.
No,
but that's Harry Maguire and Michael Keane or whatever his name is. Those two lads, like they're going to the World Cup. They're going to the World Cup.
Canes. No, Tyrone Mings is fucking probably worse than the fucking two.
So come here. So he squeezed it in as a winner, but it gives you two boys a chance to have a say on this because, you know. Harry Maguire thing, let's leave him aside for a minute, right? If you want to bring him in, you can, because that was last week or whatever, international. But the weekend's football, Everton switched to a 5 at the back. I think they were playing 4 at the back a lot of the time. They switched to a 5 at the back. Seamus Coleman's nowhere to be seen. I don't know if he's on the bench. I don't know, right? I don't. I just checked.
He wasn't.
Yeah. So Michael Keane takes up the armband, goes into the centre defence. 3 centre halves. Him. Holgate and the other fella that's
Terry Mina.
No, not him. The other fella that got off Norwich, I think. He's decent.
Ben Godfrey. They played. I watched a bit of it. Holgate played in midfield because Van der Beek went down in the warm up. So they did. It was like a 4-2-3-1, but they were penned back, and listen, they could play 6 at the back with fucking 6
but Davo,
and they'd still be shy.
Michael Keane, right, gets sent off, and whatever about the second yellow or whatever. The first one, he literally tries to get on top of Mikel Antonio after a dummy by, I think, Fornals or one of these. And Antonio does nothing but just kicks the ball in a certain direction and goes to run after it. And Michael Keane is literally on his back 40 yards from goal for no reason whatsoever. And you're looking, and I've no sympathy, Davo, for Frank Lampard, right?
No,
but he has to be looking at that going, for fuck's sake, put your arm out, feel where he is. If he keeps a hold of it, get in tight to him then. If he turns and spins, give yourself a yard. He does neither of that. Davo, appalling. And like Phil makes the point, Joe Gomez is the best English centre-half around at the minute. I think it's hard to argue with that because the rest of them do themselves no justice. Any week, Davo. They do themselves no justice.
No, listen, there's definitely an argument for that. Is probably Stones is probably the one closest in that argument at the minute. But like, he was captain yesterday. Yeah. Like he's been making fucking, like, he's been having a Holocaust all year. Like, he's been awful, and he was the captain yesterday. So what does that tell you about Lampard? And more so to the fact, what does it tell you about the rest of the team? That, like, a fella who was after having a literal nightmare all season. Nightmare. They give him the captain's armband, and then he proceeds to get 2 yellow cards and get sent off, and they're actually in the game. They might look like they might get a point or something like that. So listen, I don't know. I don't know what Everton paid for him. I know Maguire got paid 80 million.
30 million, I think they paid.
Like Phil and Dicko and myself, 3 American football fans. Deshaun Watson getting his big deal, and all the owners not happy about it because it's going to push the market up. Well, Liverpool pushed the market up on centre backs, but we made sure we got the fucking best one in the world and a generational one. Whereas I'd say the Leicester boardroom are absolutely fucking pissing themselves laughing they got that money because he is just he's not an.
We cost United a good 30 to 40 million.
Well, the funny thing about Michael Keane is Michael Keane leaves Manchester United, right? Am I right? And goes to Burnley.
Yeah.
Plays for Burnley and Everton paid 30 million for him. Right, and I don't know when Michael Keane leaves Burnley, but instead of saying we could get him back, and I think there was rumour that he might actually go back to Manchester United at the time, United go, nah, watch this, 80 million on this. He is fucking atrocious. He's not a defender, he's not a leader, he's nothing like that. And the odd time he get a goal and people go, oh, look at Harry Maguire, and I'm kind of going, for fuck's sake. And any Manchester United fan I speak to just go, it's absolutely appalling. Dicko,
it's disappointing. It's actually, I find it disappointing when Maguire's not playing. You know, if I'm watching United, I want Maguire playing because it can be comedy gold. You know, there's at least one, you know, Rick in there, if not more. Just on Michael Keane though, like the Everton fan base is turning on in big style now. You know, he's squarely in the firing line. There's nothing worse. I mean, we've seen it down the years with some of our, you know, defenders. Skelter was mentioned, but obviously Lovren's the big one. You know, when fans in the grounds can't have any trust or confidence in a centre back, it just seems to snowball, and he's having a season to forget. I mean, I did a funny thing yesterday. I stuck that Everton game on just after West Ham scored, and the telly was just on mute, and I could hear the bills. Could you hear the bills coming through the telly even when it was on mute? I could see the bubbles flying up in the air. So you know, I knew West Ham had scored. So I sat there and I watched, and it was funny actually just watching the carnage of Everton trying to coordinate themselves for like the 2 minutes or 3 minutes after that goal. They were all over the shop. Michael Keane was pointing here and pointing there. No one was taking a blind bit of notice of the fella. It was it was just crazy. Like they could easily have conceded that second goal there and then. They were all over the shop. And I know they get themselves back in the game, but yeah, he's just in a, like, I see like, you know, funny tweets, you know, we need to appeal to the FA to see if we can get that ban increased to 3 games from 1. They've just, you know, they've lost patience with him now, and
my favorite thing. We've gone on a tangent here, but fuck it. My favorite thing was, right, Well, apart from the video some fella put out on Twitter yesterday of that Everton song, what's that Everton song you love, Dicko? With the guitar and all of it. Davo loves it as well. You know the one?
Oh, the one for the Blues or whatever it's called.
Oh yeah, the one they play just before the game every
Zed cars, isn't it?
No, not Zed cars.
Zed
It's like
Zed cars is what they play.
And then before, like it's like it's kind of the "You'll Never Walk Alone."
Yeah, but it's brilliant.
Yeah,
the guitar in it is fucking
not-
fabulous.
but-
The guitar
but
sounds
not
like something
You
out
Never
of
Walk
Father's Head in it. But the thing is, right? A fella put out a video of that song with all these different tweets, and that was great. But my favourite thing yesterday was I had the game on, right? And you're right. Cresswell scores the free kick, bangs one in the top corner. Little arms can't get near it, right? And they're all over the shop, right? And in a way to cool things down, the ball goes in the box, it loops up. There's no West Ham player going for it. And Pickford literally takes a stance, right? Does this little 4 or 5 step, little tiny run up, right? And jumps up in the air with his knee up and catches the ball. And I'm like, mate, you could have literally just walked over to that ball and caught it. But this is his way of showing, look, I got you, boys. And I'm kind of going, you fucking don't have them. And you're more interested in looking good at jumping up to catch literally a ball that was 6 foot off the ground. And it was absolutely unbelievable. I can't get
Did you see the news report that United are going to target Pickford if De Gea leaves?
Yeah.
I'm like, this is wondrous. This is wondrous.
Yeah, you couldn't.
They have a goalkeeper out there that's already better than Pickford. In your man Henderson, like why? Yeah. This is the baffling thing at this moment in time, right? England's best players aren't allowed to be picked. Because I'm convinced Southgate has the ear of so many of the managers of the small teams to pick these really shit players. Right? I think there's a bet going on to see how far they can go in a tournament with really bad players. Like if you look at it, it's going back. You could have Stones, you could have Stones and Gomez in the centre of defence. You could have Trent at right back. Left back's a bit of a black hole, but like
Chilwell would be the left back if he was back in injury.
Look what happens when you go to the goalkeepers. It's a disaster. It's a walking crime store. Like you've got little arms, right? You've got his mate Harry Ramsden. England don't have a proper goalkeeper.
Nick Pope.
Pope's a good goalkeeper.
Listen, he's a good shot stopper, but I mean, like he's not an international goalkeeper. I don't think any.
None of them are.
No,
but I'd even go as far to look at them and go, like, I'm not a big fan of man Henderson. I think he had a good season at Sheffield United.
I'm just saying, Gav.
Yeah, but when he got a chance at United, do you remember if Salah went through him and he was literally standing at the corner flag?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Absolutely unbelievable. And that's just standard stuff as a goal.
Like a FIFA. Someone brought it
was like the other player froze, his controller went off. But I go as far as needed to say is the fella that plays against us at the weekend, Ben Foster's as good as any of them. And he must be 36.
Yeah.
Well,
look at you.
I don't know how we've got
today,
to this.
There was something today I read, and I don't know, I can't remember the rest of the points, but I think it was in the Athletic that Ragnick has given the United board his recommendations going forward, and point one was be more like Man City and Liverpool. They're paying that man fucking millions of pounds, and the point one in it was be more.
Apparently, what he said is that Liverpool and Man City have built this over the last 10 years, which is not true. But that's what he said, or 6 years or 7 years, wherever it might be, and they've done it on a basis where they are building everything around the way their coach wants to play, and that's what Manchester United need to do. That's one of the most obvious fucking things I've ever heard in football. It'd be like walking in and go, Klopp, we're signing fucking Weghorst off Burnley, and we're just going to play one up front. Is that all right? No. Well, that's what we're going to do anyway. It's fucking mad. Anyway.
Wait, what happened to your man Tarkowski? Do you remember him who used to play
still up for something?
Is he? Yeah,
and he's a good centre back.
So I think he's out of contract in the summer. I'd say he'll end up at Newcastle, won't he?
Yeah.
So he was chosen. They chose Michael Keane over Tarkowski.
Yeah.
Everton.
Yeah.
That's baffling.
Yeah, but it's a bit like if you're going to walk around with 80 million quid in your pocket, Harry Maguire never comes into the conversation.
They fucking I know I'm moving off. Phil makes a good point about the likes of Tarkowski and Keane and all that, right? They play for Burnley. they sit in their 18-yard box and head balls out of the box for 90 minutes. Like Merson, he had to apologise, didn't he, to Harry Maguire before over talking about. He said Roger Johnson, the player for Birmingham, brilliant heading balls out all over the place. Went to Wolves, played in the halfway line, got round in his first game. I remember him. Yeah. He was a centre back who'd win everything in the air. Played in the halfway line. He was gone. He was fucking playing for. He was in League Two about 6 months later. So like you really need to do your homework on your signings. Are they can they play a high line? Can they play in the halfway line? Because a lot of these fellas look brilliant sitting on their 18-yard box, heading balls out of the box for 90 minutes. Well, there's like in this day and age, there's just a hell of a lot more to defending than that.
Do you know who'd be a shrewd signing? If going back to the best English centre backs, do you know who'd be a shrewd signing for Spurs or an Arsenal?
Who?
Nat Phillips. I would argue that he is better than Maguire and Michael Keane and Tyrone Mings. Even though he's not the quickest, he actually knows how to play.
No, he knows what he is. He doesn't. Yeah,
but he also, Gav, he also knows how to play a line that's advanced up the pitch. Right? These lads don't go like these lads are used to camping in the D of the 18-yard box and moving from the 18-yard to the D and back to the 18-yard line. Phillips had to play up towards the halfway line. And he had figured out that, right, I need to give myself a run. I'm going to get done for pace. And I'm telling you now, Nat Phillips and Joe Gomez would make a better centre-back combination for England than any of the shite that Southgate's going to throw in the World Cup next year.
Yeah, well, like Trent won't play because he just doesn't like Trent for something. He doesn't like the fact that literally the best right back in the world doesn't want to play.
Still does a favour.
Yeah, absolutely. Davo, let's get going. 10 to 11. Let's speed these up.
Yeah, let's get rocking.
What are we going with you? Loser?
I think we were just throwing Arsenal in, weren't we, at the end because of that result?
Do you want to throw Arsenal in?
Yeah, we'll throw Arsenal in. Talking about. I
had them written down here.
They've been good. Like they've been good. I'm not going to get into all the tit for tat and all. Like I know Phil says they beat an awful lot of shit, or they won the games they should have won. Then they played us and we good in the first half. Then we took them apart, which is fair enough. But look, if they don't get top 4 this year, it's hard to imagine like when they'll get it. Do you know that kind of way? I didn't even. I was doing a bit of running around here. I didn't even look at the table. I don't know if that defeat keeps United in with a show. Of getting there with them.
It does, yeah, because I think they're only a couple of points off Spurs.
It's like I heard someone else in the podcast there last week on if United get fourth, the other teams that are in the Spurs and Arsenal should be fucking ashamed of themselves. Like rightfully ashamed of themselves at letting them. Like you just had Arsenal there. If they won tonight, they were 2 behind Chelsea, and then they got absolutely rinsed tonight. So, they've been in good form. They've been in some decent form. I like the boys they have up front, Saka and Martinelli, and that. But no, that's especially with Spurs having put the pressure or squeezing them with their hammering Newcastle yesterday. That's a fucking shocker for Arsenal to me.
Dread Steve says, to be fair, Gav wrote Arsenal down hours ago, our principal. But currently, Spurs in 4th, 30 games, 54 points. 5th, Arsenal, 54 points with 1 game less. Okay, and I think that game, that actual game is Spurs. The Arsenal's game in hand is Spurs. West Ham on 51 points, played 31, and United are 3 points off Spurs on the same amount of games. So,
correct me if I'm wrong here on this. But were Arsenal not on 48 or 49 points?
48.
About 3 games back. And I'm saying this because they look like they had 2 games in hand and they were already in 4th place and they looked like they had it sewn up.
Correct.
Right?
Well, one of the games in hand was us, wasn't it?
Correct.
Yeah, and
they lost to us and then they've lost tonight.
Spurs, Chelsea, and us, I think, were that 3
So,
games.
Phil, just to let you know, and Dicko and Davo, you don't know already, Arsenal have to play Spurs. Arsenal have to play Manchester United.
Play Chelsea as well.
Chelsea have to play Arsenal as well. So, there's loads going on there. But,
I mean, the other thing about it, just looking at the table, like with Spurs, with that win and Arsenal's defeat, there was a 7-goal swing as well on the goal difference, which could come into it. I mean, the level on points now, Spurs above them on goal difference. I mean, they've like they really. I don't. Palace are a funny one, you know. I mean, I don't want to go off on too much of a tangent, but I can't understand how they've only got 37 points. I mean, every time I've seen them this season, they've looked dangerous, particularly at home. Obviously, they held City the other week as well.
They've drawn 14 games, though.
They've drawn far too many games, and from memory, they threw away leads in the last minute against a few teams.
If you look at it, Dicko, right? Spurs have lost 10 games. Arsenal have lost 9. West Ham have lost 10. United have lost 7. Palace have only lost 9.
Yeah, it's all them draws.
Spurs and West Ham have lost more games than Crystal Palace.
You know what I mean? So, I mean, like, you know, then fast forwarding ahead to the FA Cup, I really, you know, I wouldn't dismiss Palace beating Chelsea and reaching the FA Cup final, but that is a complete tangent. But yeah, Arsenal. I mean, I think they now are in danger of throwing it away. You know, the signs, I guess, were there against us. Arteta does seem to have his limitations, and the camera going on him tonight when they went a goal down, 2 goals down, he looked a bit like a rabbit in the headlights. He really
was. He
did.
Just staring into random spaces. I loved that
during
the pandemic. I loved it. There'd be a game going on, there'd be a corner, and he'd be just looking up the other end of the Emirates, like up at the fucking the trusses or whatever. He just looked at random shit in his life. I loved it.
He's done a few games recently where he's been dancing around like Simeone for 90 minutes. And, you know, that's coincided with them playing the lesser teams and picking up the 3 points. But certainly tonight and against us, there seemed to be less of that animation. So, yeah, I don't know. Like I backed, you know, my pick was Arsenal, but now I'm sort of tending to move away from them. And I think someone said, might have been Kev on a podcast last week, was maybe sort of giving United a fair shout at this now. Even with that dodgy performance against Leicester, you can't discount them, can you? I mean, they've no European distraction now. So yeah, write United off at your peril, I suppose.
Phil, I don't know if that's you messing around with your mic, but you're doing me head in. Phil, it's all over the fucking place. They all play each other. But just Arsenal is the main topic here. He gets manager of the month for winning 3 games, right, and losing to Liverpool. Liverpool won all their games. Chelsea win all the games, and they give Arteta, and he has the gall to fucking stand at the training ground with all his team and his staff and his players and all behind him with his fucking bottle of Premier League fucking over the toilet or whatever they fucking give them now. But Phil, Kev said it last night, that's a game tonight they have to win because they know what's coming, and they go out and get beaten 3-0. Like, does it just wipe out everything that's being said about him or all this? Or I'm being too harsh? Am I being too harsh, Phil?
No, I said this to you about 2 weeks ago. I said when the pressure comes up,
you say a lot of stuff to me. I can't remember.
I know, but I said when the pressure comes on Arsenal, Arteta will go galaxy brain and they'll bottle it, and they won't get anywhere near top 4. It's that simple. The guy is a fucking shambles. Like, you employ an ex-Everton player, you get an ex-Everton mentality. So when you go and start taking pictures of your manager of one trophy outside the training ground, that's exactly something Everton would do. They'd send a DVD out and the whole lot. So it serves them right. They are what they are. Weak mentality losers. And all the Arsenal fans have excuses. The 1 week they're doing videos that they're going to be invincible and win the league. Next week they'll be sacking everyone. It's the board's fault. Kroenke's on fire, and they're all got it's terrible. The world is ending, and they're all being done over by the FA.
They should do a joint protest with United.
Yeah, they
United
should.
United are definitely doing one.
They can
all
definitely
have something penciled in.
Listen, there'll be green and yellow scarves out, and they can share the green and yellow scarves with Arsenal, and they can call themselves whatever they want to call it. Like, honestly, look, I think Spurs, I said this to you weeks ago, right? The thing was, could the other two, United or Arsenal, be consistent enough to get top 4? And if anything, Spurs have won 4 of their last 5.
Yeah.
You know, Conte seems to have stopped that win-loss that they went through for a while, and now they've put a run of games together. They've put themselves into the 4th position, and we know that points on the board, because we've gone through it, points on the board is far superior at this point in games in hand. And if Spurs, like ourselves, Spurs know that if they go into the match against Arsenal and they win that game, they're in the driving seat. Do you know what I mean? Like you've got control of your own destiny. It's like us looking at the City game. We've control over our own destiny. If we match City's get results till the end of the season and beat City in the phony stadium, whatever it's called, what did they call it this week? How much sponsorship to get this week? 10 billion or something for what it is, best commercial team in the world. But if we go and beat them, we know, and we match the results, we win the league. Think about it like that. That's what Spurs are looking at. If you don't think Conte isn't looking at that as the Italian that he is, that's all he's thinking to them. He's saying to them, we go out, we just.
Well, he has talked up getting fourth as a miracle.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is, like, if you look at the points, like Spurs 30 games, 54 points. They're averaging about 1.7 points a game.
Yep.
And
they are.
It's always 2 points a game that got you in the Champions League. That's what you always have to go for. So to be honest with you, someone said earlier there, like if United get in there, the other two should be ashamed of themselves. But it's not even that. You know, it's if they get in there, it just shows like that it's nearly a default position. If you're getting in there under 76 points, it's a default.
But Gav, can I throw a wild card in here? Because I think there's one worth throwing into this specific conversation. We are absolutely gobbling up Arsenal for their lack of bottle and their inability to do it, right? But I'll tell you one thing. Chelsea are now only 5 points ahead of fourth. Chelsea literally collapsed from this point of the season last year to the finish line, and we finished ahead of them. Do you remember? They were about 10 points ahead of us.
They were beating Aston Villa on the last day and still managed to get in top four because Leicester were beaten at home by Spurs, wasn't it?
We don't have them down as losers of the week. They got thumped at home. Brentford.
Yeah.
That's a team that had Brentford nothing to play for. Brentford are safe. Like looking at what's below them.
You know why, Phil? Because they played it forward at the back, and Rudiger didn't have his teammates beside him, and they played a flat back four, and they got rinsed.
Yeah. And Davo, this could be the collapse that can go on, because there is, you can see Tuchel is already, if you read his interviews and you read his statements and everything, he didn't sign up for what's gone on at the club and all this. That chap is looking at, he suddenly started going, where's the exits on this plane again? We're coming down. I'm in a bit of a rush and I need to get it. I don't want to be hanging around. Am I at the back? Can I go out the back door? Just in case I need to get off quickly. And that's, you look at his things, and the Chelsea fans now are starting to get nervy that Tuchel wants out, right? Because I'm sure
I wouldn't be surprised if United or Newcastle tried to do something with him. I mean,
Newcastle will be the one for me.
I mean that.
Yeah.
They go in and they go, listen, don't worry about this season. You put a squad together and we look at it in a year's time, you'll be more than comfortable. And I think it's something you could go for, because I think he loved the whole PSG thing. It's just that he melted people's heads. But bringing all them players in himself, I genuinely think Newcastle or Manchester United could look at Tuchel and go, we can get him out of there. Yeah. And he could be ready to go, because he's not. I know he signed a new deal, didn't he, after the Champions League win? Because he was initially on an 18-month deal. He done some sort of extension, but he's every chance of turning around going, listen, that contract means fuck all with the way things are now.
Look at his history. He's fallen out at every single club, and he's been chased out of the club at the end. Right, Dortmund, there was no big send off like they had for Klopp. PSG, delighted to see the back of him in the end, because when he falls out, he just doesn't fall out with the owners or whatever. He'll end up having rows with the team and everything.
Yeah, I think he's wrecking players' heads. Yeah, in a big way.
That works when you're winning.
11 o'clock, we have to move. We have to keep going because Davo's up in like 25 minutes for work.
25 minutes.
We've done Davo, we've done his. So Dicko, we're on to you. Are we on your winner?
Yeah, the winner. Yeah, Phil tried to steal me thunder there a little bit earlier on, but I was going to commend VAR as a winner this weekend, and specifically for the penalty that was awarded for Liverpool. Much to Woy's discussed in that interview, saying that VAR isn't about giving other teams a second goal in the 88th minute. The context in which it was given was absolutely kind of spot on, and it was a foul, and it mightn't have been picked up by the referee, it mightn't have been picked up by other players on the pitch. Jota certainly felt he'd been fouled, and it was the right way to intervene. Finally, kind of the system and the humans operating the system sort of got it right, came to a decision, and yeah, we got the penalty. Brilliant penalty by Fabinho, by the way. But it worked. Now I'll caveat it. I don't know if there was any horrendous VAR decisions in other games, but I'm just using ours as an example, and I'm absolutely hoping I don't jinx this ahead of next week's games.
Oh, for fuck's sake!
Don't you worry. We're getting so.
I'd literally take anybody on this planet saying them words. I hope I don't jinx it. But Ray Dicko Dickinson saying that, he's the biggest fucking Jonah I know. Like, he literally, who was playing the weekend? Benfica, right? And he messaged in the group and went, Benfica 2-0 down against Braga. We'll lump these out of a handy. 15 minutes later, Benfica were 2-2. And he was like, could be difficult this one, lads. Literally everything he says, the opposite happens. It's insane.
Joe Welch's tips was about 10 for 10. He was about 10 winners in a row.
And as soon as Ray Dicko backed them,
and they all fell apart.
Yeah, Dicko's dollars came out.
Joe's had to go into witness protection in Lisbon because of it.
I literally was about to. I started the text in the group earlier to say fancy Palace tonight, and I deleted it deliberately because I stuck a few quid on Palace, and I'm so glad that I deleted it now.
Can I just say to Dicko's point, right? The fella who was the VAR, nobody had a fucking breeze who he was. Never heard of him before in our lives, right?
This is what you wanted to say earlier, isn't it?
Yeah.
Go on.
That to me, that's exactly the point we've been making for ages. Don't put any of these incompetent, corrupt referees that are reffing games on it. Stick fellas who are reffing Leinster Senior League 3.
It's changing in Italy. It's changing in Italy. I think. I don't know. I think it's from next season. There's specialised VAR officials, and it's either going to be young fellas that are coming up in the game, or it's going to be, I think they're touring a couple of outfits and saying, listen, you're not running around the pitch anymore. Use our full-time VAR. There's going to be VAR officials rather than be a
perfect.
set fucking thing.
Not perfect at all. Because if you continue to have, I keep telling you, if you keep having that one step of mystery in the whole thing and you still have it, it doesn't work.
You're breaking the walls down, Gav. The walls are being broken down bit by bit. When they went to take the Berlin Wall down, Gav, they didn't take it down in one go.
Chris Jericho here.
Bit by bit, right?
Jericho. Right. Look, the VAR thing, it's good to see them making a good decision. You have to throw it out there in fairness because, we give them enough stick, but I think too many people are getting fooled by this. Actual VAR officers dedicated to bullshit because they'll still.
McTominay should have went, shouldn't he? In the left.
McTominay should have absolutely went, because if Paul Pogba goes for that tackle on Keita earlier on in the season, right? McTominay should be absolutely off the pitch for that tackle on Maddison. And the referee is fucking staring at it like he's the best view on the ground and still managed to give a yellow. But there again, they should have got onto the thing and said, "Go over and look at that again, will you?" And they didn't, because I don't know if that was said. That's the whole mystery gets them out of things, and that's how it will work till the end of time, regardless of who's on it. As I said the other day, you can clone 20 Pierluigi Collinas and stick them in the fucking van in the Transit at Stockley Park, and it won't make a fucking difference if there's a way out of it, and there still is.
See how we get on.
Can I just make one other point about the VAR that I've noticed, right? Because I think we're a little bit too nice on the VAR screen position. Like, we seem to have put our VAR screen at Anfield sort of part way up the tunnel, give the referee a nice little bit of privacy, whereas in other grounds you see VAR screens right in front of fans, the home fans, basically telling the referees what the decision needs to be. Why are we so nice? Why are we giving them a privacy booth to make these decisions?
Is this the reason why you refuse to go to games now?
Well, it'll certainly be on my comment.
You're not allowed a comment card this year.
Honestly, we are one of the shittest clubs for doing this type of stuff. There's no nasty streak. We should be better off. Like, just fucking stick them in front of the cop. They should stick
in front of the cop. Exactly.
Yeah.
They should put the screen in 306.
Yeah, you have to get the lift up.
Yeah, in the 306. There you go. Get up there and make that decision. See how you get on. But Right, Phil, we're down to you. I think we're down to our last one, aren't we? And your loser of the week. You've basically picked a winner or a loser, a winner for the loser. So what are you doing for your loser?
No,
of the week?
my loser of the week, and arguably the loser of the last 2 seasons, is Timo Werner. That chap had a chance to come to Liverpool, and it goes back to my Diogo Jota shout earlier on, right? Before he came to England, he was a more clinical version of what Jota looked like at Wolves. And Wolves he's under from, and he decides to go for Chelsea, where the money was bigger, and he's looked an absolute stocking of donkey shite since then, right? He couldn't finish his breakfast, and I would imagine. Honestly, I'd imagine he would be a different player had he signed for Liverpool and Klopp, because what Klopp seems to be very good at coaching or getting right is making players clinical in front of goal, particularly strikers. Look what he's done for Salah, for Mane, for Firmino, for Jota. Who's the other fellow we've signed? Well, the only one he hasn't made as clinical yet is Diaz, but he needs a full pre-season. So when he sorts that out, I'm sure he'll sort it out. But like, honestly. It's full preseason, Davo. That's what I know. But yeah, that's like, honestly, for me, it's Werner. It's very hard to look past him because his career's over.
Is it a trend at Chelsea? Davo, okay, is it a trend at Chelsea? Because you look at Werner has turned up and he's second season now, and you're still like I nearly forget he plays for Chelsea, right? He probably plays a lot of games, probably comes on, but I literally forget he plays for Chelsea. You look at Lukaku. Lukaku is back for, is it his third spell at Chelsea now, because he was off on loan and come back and shit like that. But he's having to make public apologies to everybody, right? He has made more apologies than Roman Abramovich has to Chelsea. Now, there you go. So, and I'm starting to wonder, Davo, is it a bit of a trend? Does it go back to Tuchel? Does he just doesn't know what to do with them? Well, because I think he's a good player, Timo Werner, but Phil's right, he's made wrong decisions.
Yeah. I agree. I think there's plenty of football in him. I was actually quite disappointed when we didn't get him, because it was obvious that we put the groundwork in, and I think it was I'm not sure, was it pandemic related, or it was. I think the word was Klopp wanted him to hang on another 12 months and then we get him, and he wasn't prepared to do that, so he went to Chelsea.
7 goals in 50 games, Davo. 23 goals in 46 for Jota.
I think there's football in Werner, but like, going back to your point about Chelsea, like, you wonder what's going on, because the problem Lukaku had at United is they want him to be this back to goal centre forward, the ball going up, stick it in, and play like that with his back to goal. Well, listen, he can't do that. His touch is awful. He went into Milan and he was nowhere near that player. He sometimes used to start out kind of wider so he could come in. And he scored a handful of goals over in Italy. He didn't want to be that player back to goal. He wasn't played by Conte with that back to goal. Then Chelsea signed him, and I think Tuchel's first press conference he started talking about playing him as a back to goal centre forward. Yeah,
and do you know what backed himself up?
Automatically, like, Lukaku must have been just standing there going, "What the fuck did I sign here for?"
Yeah, because he actually doesn't want to run channels. He doesn't want the players back to goal. No. He wants to run off your shoulder with power and pace and finish. Yeah. And the thing was, what backed up Tuchel was when they play Arsenal at the second game of the season, Lukaku plays with his back to goal against Arsenal, and everyone thinks he's a better holder player than Mark Hughes ever was, for fuck's sake. Yeah. And people are going, "Look at him doing this," and I'm going, "It's Arsenal. Fucking chill the beans. Wait till he actually comes up against some proper teams." And he just fell off.
I watched him a bit. I watched Inter a bit. Like, he was unbelievable. That's why when Chelsea got him, I says, "Oh fuck."
He wants to run off your shoulder, and he wants balls in the box.
Absolutely bang goals in, and then Tuchel starts fucking playing him with his back to goal, and he's every bit as bad as he was at United.
Can I just pull up something? Because this, I knew someone would eventually say it. Tom Bowler there. Chelsea think every striker to sign is the next Drogba. Drogba scored fuck all goals. Go back and check the records. Right?
Well, I think Salah. I remember seeing something recently where Salah had whatever he has for Liverpool, right? I can't even remember how many goals Salah has for Liverpool.
A million.
But it was basically like he scored his amount of goals for Liverpool. He's the highest scoring African, I think, in Premier League history.
Yeah,
and he done it in like fucking 90 games less than Drogba or something like that. But Drogba wasn't only a goal scorer. Drogba was what you think Lukaku should be at Chelsea, because he was good with his back to goal. He ran channels. He was physical. He could run behind you. He could score headers.
Didn't score goals.
Yeah, but Phil, there was more to him than that.
He's a centre forward that didn't score goals.
No, he did score goals, but he was so good for the likes of Robin, Duff and any of these wingers that play because he's done so much work from
the rest is all reputation.
Stop
Honestly,
stop it.
not having about Drogba. Like it seems to be a lovely
against us, though. He was
a fucking nuisance. He was
absolutely glad to see the back of him. I mean, with just back onto Werner there quickly. Maybe he leaves in the summer. Maybe he goes. Maybe Dortmund is a destination for him if Haaland obviously moves to the likes of Manchester City. It's not worked out for him. He'd be foolish to persist. I think he needs to move back to Germany.
Bayern could come and take him. Look to take him back, or look to take him back to Germany.
That's the fair shout. Diego Costa has probably been Chelsea's best striker the last 20 years.
Costa was dead.
Yeah,
and he's a horrible bollocks.
Yeah.
Horrible. Yeah. I loved him. I still love him. I think
the Werner thing is just didn't make any sense going to Chelsea. It made sense coming to Liverpool because for me, Klopp is the sort of fella that can bring a fella in and go, listen, you can play here, and here. That's fine, but I'll develop you into what I want you to be. It could be right through the centre, it could be off the left, but I'll develop you into something where you're quite good through the centre, but you're going to be lethal down the left hand side, and we'll play to you. Chelsea don't play to these forwards. They even got to the point now where they don't play to Havertz, so they stick him up front. Havertz isn't the front man. Havertz is a 10. He looks to wander. Mason Mount's a good player, but you can see him being out of position at times as well. And I'm not saying Chelsea have had an awful season. They haven't. But it just feels to me that when it comes to the top end of the pitch, they don't play to their strengths. They try shoehorn players in, and it hurts them. A couple of mentions before we go. I want to give a shout out to, what's the young lad off United? United claimed the penalty the other day when, is it Elanga? Is that his name?
Elanga tackled
Rashford.
Yeah.
So Elanga, the Manchester United player, tackles Rashford, the Manchester United player, in the Leicester box, and United were calling for a penalty. That is a highlight of the weekend for me.
I think it was given offside in the end.
Yeah, and then this is, I just read this recently. One of the lads sent to me. Everton directors' remuneration increased from 3.5 million to 4.2 million this season, with the highest paid director rising 65% from 1.2 to 2 million. This made Everton's highest paid director the fourth highest earner in the Premier League this season. And now you wonder why there are 100 million in losses every season for the last three. Anything else before we go, Davo?
No, looking forward to the game tomorrow night.
Yeah,
busy. It's a busy month. I'm not getting many nights off, so behind the couch is fairly warm.
Yeah.
So I'm not getting many nights off, but yeah, look, great, enjoy it. All big games, deadly.
Good stuff. Dicko, anything else before we go? Liverpool or Premier League related that caught your eye over the weekend?
Oh, obviously, you keep an eye on City as well, don't you? I didn't have the stomach to watch them win comfortably. But it'll be interesting. Obviously, they're playing Atletico. I did see a bit of Atletico yesterday. I think, did Simeone's dad pass away? There seemed to be a lot of emotion there at that game, and I think they end up winning 4-1. Suarez scored a couple of goals. I've got a feeling Atletico get something there tomorrow at Man City. Okay.
Phil, anything else before we go?
I was mainly watching Russian medieval sword fighting at the weekend. It's a fascinating rabbit hole to go down for anyone. You see the lads, they put the chainmail on and the whole armour and everything, and they've shields and swords, and they attack each other like in a mixed martial arts ring. And it's real. And there's a world championship of it.
Okay. Are you going to try to get accreditation for that as well?
No, I'm focused on getting the accreditation to the World Games. Like I've been going through all the sports and who the leaders are in the sports and stuff like that for it. So it's so important that I do my research before I go over to Birmingham and Alabama. I'm so excited about it. So I've got my flights booked and everything.
Have you?
Nilo's uncle is letting me stay in his gaff.
All right. Okay.
He said he said don't be. It's not a caravan. They said it's grand. It's a house. I was like, super.
It's a mobile home.
It has wheels on it.
The mobile home.
Why is it on bricks? Listen, there's a fucking high.
There's a story behind it.
Yeah.
Supposedly, yeah. So it's I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to be broadcasting live from Birmingham, Alabama. Can't wait.
Best of luck with that. Absolute best of luck with that. That has been winners and losers for this week. Thanks a million for joining us. We're back tomorrow with the Cop update at 2 p.m. We're back at 10 p.m. with full-time Reds and all the rest of the stuff for the rest of the week. As you can see on screen, Féileacáin is our charity partner, and link is in the description if you want to make a donation there. If you can't make a donation, as I always say, go and take the link, send around your friends, family, colleagues, wherever it might be. And if you feel like doing some fundraising by shaving your head or doing something along them lines with all your mates, yeah, go and do it, and we'll back you all the way. And you can lash on TikTok, get all the lovely likes. So that is it. We will talk to you in a bit. Over and out.